Thank you, Jim. Clearly, we need shorter legislators if this is going to go on all night. So, we have a very special guest with us this evening. J.D. Vance is here tonight. He's a noted author. He wrote the book Hillbilly Elegy, a best-selling book. Was on the New York Times bestseller list for a long time. He'd like to give a quick introduction to you here this evening. He's a graduate of Yale Law School, but that's all right. He has his undergraduate degree from Ohio State, so he's okay there. He's a visiting fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, and he'd like to say hello to you. J.D.?
Sorry, Tony, I'm going to shift this microphone back down again, but thanks to Tony for hosting such an incredible event and for everybody who's involved. It's great to be here with some Republicans tonight. It's great to just be out with people, having drinks, having conversations. It's not happened enough in the past year, and it's great to be with you folks tonight. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I am a working class guy from Middletown, Ohio. My parents migrated from Appalachian, Kentucky, coal country, and because my mom, who was arrested when I was 12 years old actually, my grandparents took care of me. And my mom was arrested because of opioid addiction. I know that's something that's affected a lot of people in our state, and I know in this community. And if you look at the statistics, things were pretty bleak for me. I should not have had a good life. But I did because of my grandparents. I did because they took me under their wing, because they took care of me. My grandmother found out that I was hanging around with one of the bad kids in the neighborhood. And she said, "JD, if you don't stop hanging out with that kid, I'm going to run him over with my car, and nobody's ever going to find out about it." So she set me straight and got me on the straight and narrow, and I've had just this incredibly blessed life. I really have lived the American dream. I went to Ohio State. I went to law school. I met this beautiful girl there. We've got two beautiful boys now, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And I just think about my life as this incredibly charmed thing, and I feel this debt of gratitude because it wouldn't have been possible anywhere but here in this country. I don't think it would have been possible anywhere but here in the state of Ohio, and that gives you a sense of duty and a sense of obligation. I'm here tonight because I'm thinking about running for Rob Portman's open Senate seat, and I'd love for you to consider voting for me if I ultimately pull the trigger. But if I do run, it's going to be on something that's very close to my heart. You've heard a lot about freedom and liberty. You will hear a lot about the American dream from a lot of different folks in our politics. And to me, the American dream is pretty simple. It's different for every person. Every person has their own American dream. But for me, growing up in a tough home, watching those cops take away my mom, seeing the ravages of addiction, what it always meant to me was two simple things. To be able to provide for your family in the way that you need to, in the way that you want to. That's the first thing. And the second is to be able to raise your children as you would like to raise them, with your values, with your principles, with a love of country, a love of God, a love of the things that matter. And I think both of those things are really under assault right now in our country. And unless we turn around, we're going to find ourselves in a very tough situation. And importantly, they're not just under assault by government. It's not just the problem of government. It's not just that we have to fight the Biden administration, though we certainly have to. It's that increasingly the companies that used to invest in our country, that used to care about our country, are often on the other side. I'll throw a crazy statistic at you. In 1990, the Fortune 10 CEOs, the CEOs of the 10 biggest companies in this country were all Republicans. Today, the CEOs of the 10 biggest companies are all Democrats. What does that mean for us? Well, it means that so many of the things that are happening in our country are driven not just by government, but by multinational corporations that don't care about us and don't care about our values. Let me just illustrate with a few topics. We, of course, have a terrible border crisis on the southern border. It is awful. It will mean more drugs in our communities. It will mean more people diluting our vote, more Democratic voters, making it harder for Republicans to win elections. Why do we have it? We have it because the people behind the Biden administration, they love cheap labor that undercuts our wages, and they love new Democratic voters that make it harder for Republicans to win elections. They are pushing it, not, again, just from the government level, they're pushing it at the corporate level too. One of the worst things the Biden administration has done, and it's saying a lot even though it's only 2.5 months in, is close down the Keystone XL pipeline. We're all feeling it at the pump, of course. We're seeing it in higher energy prices. But one of the most dire consequences of that decision is that it's harder for American manufacturers. It's harder for people who are in the business of making things, of building things, of working in the real economy. And who doesn't care about it is Silicon Valley. They don't care about high energy costs. In fact, they push the decision to close down that pipeline because they know it's bad for their economic competitors in the heartland, but it's good for them. We talk about the Second Amendment. Of course, it's under assault by the federal government right now. But something I worry about almost more than that is that you may find yourself, I own 3 firearms. My grandmother was dirt poor when she died. She gave me a .44 Magnum when she died. That was the one thing that she had to give me. I've been a gun owner ever since. The thing I worry most about is that at Dick's Sporting Goods or at Walmart or with a Visa credit card, you might not be able to buy guns and ammunition because our corporate oligarchy is increasingly pushing the idea that you shouldn't be able to have guns, you shouldn't be able to have ammunition. Again, it's both a government problem and it's a big corporation problem. We need to wake up to what we're confronting. We're not confronting a country where the big business interests are aligned with our values. They're increasingly on the other side. And if we don't fight it, we're going to lose the American dream. I'll just leave you with one final thought. Abraham Lincoln, who of course this event is named after today, one of my favorite Lincoln quotes is, "As our case is new, so we must think anew and act anew." Our case is new, ladies and gentlemen. The problems that we're facing right now are not the same problems that we were facing 30 years ago. They're bigger, they're from more powerful interests, and unless we fight back against it, we're going to lose the American dream for our children and grandchildren. I don't want that. I know you don't want that, and so let's keep fighting. Thank you so much.